So in the last session, so just we had a talk about overloading. Just we started about overloading. Now I will explain about overriding. So overloading is a very simple process. Okay, just we have to check only method and names must be same, but argument types must be different. Are you getting? Method names must be same, argument types must be different. But in overriding, the terminology is completely different. So there are each and everything we have to cross check. So method names, argument types, return types, like there are several things we require to cross check if it is overriding concept, right? Okay, now just observe what is overriding. What is overriding? Okay, what are various rules for overriding? I will explain. So parent class methods by default available to the child or not? Ayo, parent class methods by default available to the child through inheritance, correct or not? That property is nothing but inheritance. Parent class methods, parent class variables by default available to the child. This concept itself is nothing but what? Inheritance, right? So parent class methods by default available to the child through inheritance. Sometime child may be satisfied with parent implementation, or child class may not satisfy with parent implementation. If the child not satisfied with the parent implementation, then child is allowed to redefine that method in the child class. Are you getting that? Parent class already contain the method, but the child not satisfied with the parent implementation, then the child is allowed to redefine that method in the child class. This process is nothing but what? Overriding, right? Are you able to understand? Okay, this is override. Because I don't want parent method implementation, I want to define my own method implementation. Parent class method I am overriding with my own implementation, right? This process is nothing but what? Overriding. Are you getting? Override. I don't want old concept, I want a new concept, like override existing. Can you define new? Is nothing but overriding, right? Now observe very carefully about this terminology, right? Here I am taking, just observe class. So P, sir, parent class P. You know, every parent very much eager, to provide huge property to the kid, correct or not? I hope your parents also, so compulsory, if you can touch any person, why you are working this much, for my welfare of my kids, is nothing but my kid should be happy, my kid should not struggle like me, is nothing but every parent having this type of point in their mind. Okay, this my kid should be happy, my next generations should be very happy, because of that I am working this much hard, is nothing but everyone is going to tell like that. Okay, so if you become parents, then automatically you are also going to think in the same style. Okay, remember that. So now observe, so every parent very much eager to provide huge property. Parents are going to work their lifetime, okay, this is to provide huge property for the kid. Okay, so assume class P. Now so public void property. Sir, every parent very much eager to provide property to the kid. Can you tell how the parent is going to provide the property? In terms of cash, in terms of land, in terms of gold, maybe. Most of the times, this much money or this much land is nothing but, or this much gold is nothing but huge property in some form. Parent is very much eager to provide to the kid. Next, most of the times parent so having the right to arrange marriage also for the kid. Are you getting that? Most of the parents want to arrange marriage also. Marriage for the kid is in parent hand only. Most of the times, very rare maybe that overriding is going to happen. Most of the times parent. Here see, public void marry method, public void marry method, system.out.println marriage with Subbalakshmi, like the parent arranged. Okay, like so the parent define how many methods? Two methods. One is the property method, the other one is what? Marry method, right? Now I am taking class C extends P. Sir, being a child, class C extends P, I am the child, automatically these two methods by default available with me. Are you getting? Whatever parent class method, whatever methods present in parent by default available to the child. Okay, parent class methods by default available to the child. But so being a child, I'm very much satisfied with the property implementation, but I'm not satisfied with marriage implementation. Are you getting? I want property, but I'm not satisfied with marriage implementation, right? If the child are not satisfied with marriage implementation, then child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement. Child is allowed to redefine based on its requirement, right? Okay, this is. So how the child can redefine that method based on its requirement? Very simple. So I can redefine, sir, marry method. I'm not satisfied with parent implementation. I want to redefine on my own. Public void marry method. Public void marry method. System.out.println. Okay, any name, whatever the name in your mind, happily you can take either Trisha or Charmi or Naintara, because these people are ready for marriage. Okay, so retired people anyway, these people are ready for the marriage anyway. Like, are you getting? Observe this terminology, right? If the child not satisfied with parent implementation, then the child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement. This process is nothing but overriding. Are you getting? So this process itself is nothing but what? Overriding. Now this process itself is overriding. Overriding, right? Okay. Parent class method which is overridden. Sir, parent class method which is overridden. So this parent class method is by default considered a overridden method. Parent class method which is overridden is called overridden method. Child class method which is overriding is called what? Overriding method. So this terminology is also important for you people. Okay, overridden method, overriding method. Make sure you people should have clear clarity. Are you getting that? So what is overriding? I hope the terminology is clear. Next, what are the rules for overriding? That part I will explain that. So whatever methods parent has by default available to the child. If the child not satisfied with the parent implementation, then the child is allowed to redefine that method in the child class based on its requirement. This process is called what? Overriding. The parent class method which is overridden is called overridden method. The child class method which is overriding is called overriding method. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, at this point. Keep submitting. Overriding. 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 Add. Whatever methods a parent has, whatever methods a parent has, whatever methods a parent has, whatever methods parent has, by default available to the child, by default available to the child, by default available to the child, by default available to the child through inheritance, by default available to the child through inheritance, by default available to the child through inheritance, through inheritance, by default available to the child through inheritance, inheritance, inheritance. If a child class, if a child class, if a child class not satisfied with the parent class implementation, if a child class not satisfied with the parent class implementation, if child class not satisfied with the parent class implementation, not satisfied with the parent class implementation, then child is allowed, then child is allowed, then child is allowed to redefine that method. Child is allowed to redefine that method. Child is allowed to redefine that method. Child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement. Based on its requirement. Child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement. Based on its requirement. This process is called overriding. This process is called overriding. Process is called overriding. Overriding. Next up. Overriding. Next up. The parent class method. The parent class method which is overridden. The parent class method which is overridden. Parent class method which is overridden is called, the parent class method which is overridden is called overridden method. The parent class method which is overridden is called overridden method, method. And the child class method, child class method which is overriding, child class method which is overriding, and the child class method which is overriding is called overriding method. Child class method which is overriding is called overriding method, overriding method. Are you getting? So take this example clearly, and the comments also. Class P, public void property, SOP of cash, land, gold. Public void property. Completed, I hope. Next, public void marry, SOP of Subbalakshmi, like. So any name you can keep, need not be Subbalakshmi always. Next, class C, extends P. Next, public void marry. Class C extends P, public void marry, SOP of. So Trisha or Charmi or Naintara, like any name. So if the parent are not satisfied, if the child class not satisfied with parent class implementation, then child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement. This process is called overriding. The parent class method which is overridden is called overridden method. The child class method which is overriding is called overriding method. Method. Like. Completed, right? So this is what you people should aware clearly, right? What is overriding? Okay, now just observe. There are other things I have to explain. Make sure you people should have clarity. Okay, there are some other things I have to explain here. See, continuation of this program only. Just listen. Completed right up to this. Now continuation of this program only. Just have a look. Sir, here class test. Public static void main. String array args. Class test public static void main string array args. Now the first point is here, see, parent P is equal to new parent. Parent P is equal to new parent. Sir, parent class reference, parent class object. Parent reference, parent object. P dot marry method. Sir, P dot marry method. Can you tell which method will come into the picture? Is it parent method or child method? Parent method or child method? Parent class method, because parent reference, parent object, nowhere related to the child. If I am using anywhere child reference or child object, then we may think, but everything related to the parent, then automatically which method will come? Parent method. So which method will come? Parent method. Of course, Subbalakshmi, yeah, the output, right? Next, second approach, second point here is child C is equal to new child C dot marry method. Child C is equal to new child C dot marry method. Sir, child reference, child object, child class method. Can you tell which method will come into the picture? Everything related to the child. That's why child method will come. Listen well, later you can take. Child method will come. Okay. Third one, a bit dangerous. Take a special care. what is the compiler role, what is the JVM role, you have to decide clearly, right? Okay, third case, observe very carefully. Parent reference can be used to hold child object or not? Parent reference can be used to hold child object. P1 dot marry. Now listen this possibility well, because very important. Several times I have to discuss this point. Parent reference can be used to hold child object or not? Yes. Have you remembered in the last class somewhere we covered? Parent reference can be used to hold child object, but by using that reference we can call only the methods available in parent class. Child specific methods we can't call. Regarding child specific methods we can't call. Only the methods available in the parent by default we can call. Child specific methods we can't call. Correct or not? Okay, this is. Now make sure. Sir, here what is the role of compiler? What is the role of JVM? You have to decide. I am calling marry method on P1. P1 is what type? P1 is what type? Parent type. So compiler is going to check in the parent class marry method is there or not. Is it there or not? Yes. Oh, marry method is there, no problem, compiles fine. Are you getting? Here let me repeat. What is the role of compiler? Sir, you are calling marry method on P1. P1 is what type? P1 is what type? Parent type. In the parent class marry method is available or not? Yes, it is available. Parent class marry method is there. Oh, no problem, syntactically no mistake, compiles fine. At runtime JVM will check, is it parent object or child object? Listen, if it is the parent object, anyway parent class contain marry method, execute that. If it is the child object, oh, parent reference child object, immediately JVM will check in the child class, is this method is overriding or not? Are you getting? In the child class, is this method is overriding or not? If it is not overriding, anyway parent method by default available to the child, that's why I execute parent method only. But if it is overriding in the child class, then at runtime, based on runtime object, JVM will execute child class method. Are you getting? Based on runtime object, if it is overriding based on runtime object, JVM will execute which method? Child class method, right? Can you tell what answer we are going to get? Is it child method or parent method? Child method by default. Observe carefully, Anna. What is the role of compiler? What is the role of JVM? Simple. Compiler will check. Sir, you are calling marry method on P1. P1 is what type? We are calling marry method on P1. P1 is what type? Okay, P. In the parent class, marry method is there or not, it's going to check. In the parent class, if a marry method is there, oh, syntactically no problem, happily the code compiles fine. But at runtime, JVM will check. Is the class is child class or parent class? If it is the child class, now in child class, based on runtime object, okay, this is, if it is overriding method will execute. If it is not overriding, anyway parent class method by default available to the child, that's why happily child class method by default is going to get in the chance. That's why in overriding method resolution is always based on runtime object. Is it clear for all of you? Right? Okay, this is, in overriding method resolution is always based on what? Runtime object, right? Now the terminology is very clear. That's why overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism or late binding. Is it clear, right? So why it is the runtime polymorphism? Because based on runtime object only the method resolution is going to be happen. Have you observed? Here, which is the runtime object? Here parent method. Which is the runtime object? Child method. Which is the runtime object? Child. That's why child method, right? In overriding, method resolution is always based on runtime object. Is it clear? Right? That's why overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism or late binding, right? Clear for all of you, right? Okay, this add. Take this part also. Take clearly. So in overriding, you have to decide clearly what is the compiler's rule, what is the JVM compiler role and the JVM role. Compiler is always going to check syntactically. You are calling Mary method on P1, P1 is P type. In the parent class, Mary method is there or not. That is the role of compiler. But JVM will check either runtime object, either parent object or child object. If it is a child object, in the child class, is it overriding that method or not? If it is overriding, based on runtime object, JVM will execute child class method. Completed, right? Take clearly parent method, child method like. Now, get the theory. Sir, in overriding, legend, in overriding, method resolution always takes care by JVM based on runtime object. Method resolution always takes care by JVM based on runtime object. That's why overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism or late binding. But in overloading, method resolution always takes care by compiler. Overloading, compiler based on reference type. That's why overloading is also known as compile time polymorphism or static polymorphism or early binding. Observe the words, right? In overloading, reference. In overriding, runtime object. Okay, add. Keep very important star for this point. In overriding, method resolution. In overriding, method resolution always takes care by. In overriding, method resolution always takes care by. Method resolution always takes care by JVM. Always takes care by JVM. Method resolution always takes care by JVM based on runtime object. Always takes care by JVM based on runtime object. Based on runtime object. And hence overriding is also considered as runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism or late binding. So until runtime, we don't know which method is going to execute. That's why method binding will happen lately at runtime. That's why late binding. That's all. Completed, I hope. Now the terminology is very, very clear for all of you, right? Okay. So method resolution always takes care by JVM based on what? Runtime object. That's why method so overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism, dynamic polymorphism or late binding, right? Okay. Now overloading, very simple process. Method names must be same, arguments must be different. Overriding is not that much simple, a bit complex. Suppose best example, your parent arranged some marriage. You are not satisfied with that. You want to redefine that based on your requirement. How much complex it is? Then lady side people should accept. Next and after that, lady side people should not have any political or police background. Is nothing but like a number of things we have to take care. Then only on our wish the marriage is going to be happen. Are you getting? If a small thing goes wrong, then automatically there is a big compiler or JVM is going to get left and right. Are you getting? So each and every point we have to take very much care in overriding. Method names we have to check. Argument types we have to check. Return types we have to check. Modifiers we have to check. Throws keyword we have to check. Each and every access modifiers we have to check. Each and every rule we have to check in overriding. Overloading is a simple process. Overriding is a complex process because several things we have to take care. Are you getting that? Okay, this is. So make sure you people should aware. So what rules are there for overriding? Keep submitting. Rules for overriding. rules for overriding, rules for overriding. Okay, make sure rules for overriding. Sir, here in overriding, so here legend this point well. In overriding, method names must be same. Sir, assume parent class method is, legend parent class method is m1 next compulsory child class method should be compulsory child class method should be m1 only. Of course here public void anyway. Like, sir, in overriding method names must be same, argument types must be same. Sir, method names and argument types must be same is nothing but method signatures must be matched. Correct or not? Here whatever method signature, here also same method signature must be there in overriding. But in overloading, method signatures must be different because of different argument types. Are you getting first point? In overriding, first point, in overriding, method names and argument types, method names and argument types, method names and argument types, method names and argument types must be matched, method names and argument types must be matched, that is method signatures must be same, that is method signatures must be same, that is method signatures must be same, method signatures must be same, same. Okay, that's all. So are you getting the point? Right? So method names must be same, method argument must be same, that is method signatures must be same. Okay, next second point, take very special care. Sir, okay, method name and argument types we covered. Next what is about return types, Anna? What is the return type? Can you tell in overriding return types must be same or not? Yes, if the parent class method return type is void, compulsory child class method return type should be void only. By mistake, if you are taking any other compile time method, you are going to get. So in overriding, return types must be same. But this rule applicable until 1.4 version only. Are you getting this rule applicable until 1.4 version only? From 1.5 version onwards, covariant return types are also allowed. Covariant return types also allowed. Covariant. Then immediately you may ask, sir, what is the covariant return type? Maybe a. So from 1.5 version onwards, covariant return types also allowed. What it means I will explain. Okay, are you able to understand? Until 1.4 version return types must be same, but from 1.5 version onwards, covariant return types also allowed. Okay, now observe, what is covariant return type? Very simple, sir. Sir, I am taking one method, class P. My parent class method is public object m1, like I am taking return null. Sir, return null, like this I am taking public object m1 return null. Class C extends P. Class C extends P. Okay, now public m1 I am taking. Okay, here just observe, sir, child class method return type should be same as child class method return type should be same as parent method return type. But this rule is applicable until 1.4 version. But from 1.5 version onwards, child class method return type need not be same as parent method return type. It's a child types also allowed. Are you getting? It's a child types also allowed. That's why here, so I want to take string. Is it valid or not? Yes, valid, no problem at all. This one is nothing but covariant return type. Child class method return type need not be same as parent method return type. It's a child types also allowed. This one is nothing but what? Covariant return type. Is it clear? Sir, can you tell, is it valid or not? Valid. Is it valid in the 1.4 version? 1.4 version, valid or invalid? Invalid. But is it valid in the 1.5 version or not? Yes, is nothing but like. Let me show this one. Okay, here just have a look once. Here 1 minute. Let me go for. Here just observe this. Okay, here I am taking just this example is there. So let me save this code. Same example. Class P public object M1 return null. Class C extends P public string M1 return null. Let me save this code as p.java. p.java. Okay, class P, class C extends P public string M1 return null is nothing but P. Now make sure. Okay, let me compile this code, because we are using which version, 1.6 version, assume 1.6, java c p.java, valid or not? Valid. We won't find any problem, because in the 1.6 version covariant return types are allowed. But can you please compile this program according to 1.4 version? According to 1.4 version. Now java c, how to compile according to 1.4? hyphen source 1.4 p.java, hyphen source 1.4 p.java is nothing but like, have you observed? M1 in C cannot override M1 in P, attempting to use incompatible return type, found string required object. Sir, in the 1.4 version it is invalid, but in the 1.5 version it is valid. Let me compile according to 1.5 version. Can you please compile according to 1.5? Java C hyphen source 1.5 p.java. Have you observed? Happily the code compiles fine. Observe the difference between these. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, this. So until 1.4 version, the return types must be same in overriding. But in the 1.5 version, covariant return types also allowed. Clear, right? Okay, at this point. Yeah. In overriding, return types must be same. In overriding, return types must be same. In overriding, return types must be same. Return types must be same. But return types must be same. But this rule is applicable. This rule is applicable until 1.4 version only. But this rule is applicable until 1.4 version only. Until 1.4 version only. From 1.5 version onwards, 1.5 version onwards, we can take from 1.5 version onwards, we can take covariant return types. From 1.5 version onwards, we can take covariant return types. Return types. Okay. According to this, we can take covariant return types. According to this, covariant return types. According to this, child class method. According to this, child class method return type. Child class method return type need not be same as child class method return type need not be same as child class method return type need not be same as parent method return type. Need not be same as parent method return type. Need not be same as parent method return type. Parent method return type. It's a child type also allowed. It's a child type also allowed. It's a child type also allowed. Child type also allowed. Okay, that's all. Take this example. Class P public object M1 return null. So in the case of object expectation null is the valid value for object. Null is the valid value for a string. That's why return null acceptable. Class P public object M1 return null. Class C extends P. Class C extends P. Public string M1 return null. Class C extends P. Public string M1 return null. Null. Return null. Return null. Okay. So this is what you people should aware clearly, right? Any explanation is required up to this, okay? Now the next here, see, just beside this, it is invalid. It is invalid in which version? 1.4 version. It is invalid in 1.4 version, but from 1.5 version onwards. But from 1.5 version onwards, 1.5 version onwards, it is valid. Just add that comment. It is invalid in 1.4 version, but from 1.5 version onwards, it is valid. It is valid. Okay, that's all. This is the rule related to return type in overriding concept. But most of the people, even today also, most of the people are going to feel, sir, return types must be same. No, there is a small flexibility came in the 1.5 version, covariant return types, right? Okay. Now let me keep a small clarity about this point here. See, sir, I'm taking here, observe. Sir, I'm taking here, see, parent class method return type. Parent class method return type. Parent class method return type like this is. And child class method return type. Child class method return type. And parent method return type, child method return type. Assume parent class method return type is object. Can you tell which return type we can take for the child? Either object you can take, correct or not? Either object we can take, or it's a child. Is nothing but like string we can take. Next, a string buffer we can take, correct or not? String we can take, string buffer we can take, like itself is the valid. Next, if the parent class method return type is number, sir, number, can you tell which return type is allowed? Either number we can take, or integer we can take, or float we can take, double we can take. No problem at all. So acceptable, right? If the parent class method return type is string, if the parent class method return type is the string, now I am taking child class method return type is object. Valid or invalid? Invalid, because child method return type should be either same as parent or it's a child. Child method return type should not be parent of parent method return type. Sir, here parent, here child acceptable. But here child, here parent not acceptable. Compiler will give left and right. It is not covariant return type. Okay, remember this. But this one is the covariant return type. Object is string. But a string object is not covariant return type, right? Next, if the parent class method return type is double, primitive double, child method return type I am taking yes int. Acceptable or not? Acceptable or not? Parent method return type is double, but child method return type is int. Acceptable or not? Make sure this one is nothing but 100% pakka. Acceptable or not? No. Because, no, don't keep any doubt in that. No, because covariant return type concept applicable only for object types but not for primitives. For the primitive time, covariant return type concept not applicable. It is applicable only for what? Object types. So for the primitive, if it is a double, child method return type also should be double only. If it is the int, parent method return type also should be int only, right? Is it clear for all of you? Okay, add. Take this points first. Parent class method return type, child class method return type. Parent class method return type. Next, child class method return type. Child class method return type. Take clearly. Completed, right? So make sure you people should aware about the last point. This one is a bit important. Take special care. Okay, here the point. Here the theory. Covariant return type concept. Covariant return type concept. Covariant return type concept. Return type concept applicable. Covariant return type concept applicable. Covariant return type concept applicable only for object types, applicable only for object types but not for primitive types, applicable only for object types but not for primitive types, but not for primitive types, but not for primitive types. Okay, that's all. So the terminology is the very clear for you people anyway, right? Okay, now the next one, take a bit special care about this word, right? Okay, now the next point, take very much special care. So return types we covered clearly. Next about modifiers. So the most valuable here, saying, sir, I am taking class P, analogy on class P. I have one private method is there in the parent class, private void m1, like this I am taking. Private method is there. Class C extends P is nothing but like, sir, can you tell parent class private methods, is it available to the child? Ayo, parent class private methods, is it available to the child? No. Parent class private methods not available to the child. If it is not available to the child, where is the question of overriding? Are you getting? If it is available, if the child is not satisfied with that, then child is allowed to redefine that method based on its requirement, right? Are you getting? If it is so child is allowed to redefine that method, but it's not available first. If it is not available first, where is the question of overriding? Is it clear for all of you? Right? Okay, this is so parent class private methods by default not available to the child. That's why overriding concept not applicable for private methods. Is it clear for all of you? Right? Okay, this is by default. So not, you can't override that, right? Okay. Now, so take a bit special care at this point. Parent class private methods, parent class private methods, parent class private methods not available to the child, Parent class private methods are not available to the child. Parent class private methods are not available to the child. Not available to the child. Not available to the child. And hence, overriding concept. And hence overriding concept. And hence overriding concept not applicable for private methods. And hence overriding concept not applicable for private methods. 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 Okay, here clear. Suppose by mistake I'm trying to define, I'm trying to override, sir, private void m1. Same method I am trying to define in the child class. Can you tell, is it valid or invalid? I am trying to override private method in the child class. Is it valid or invalid? Make sure 100% pakka. This one is nothing but valid. Valid, no problem at all. But it is not overriding. Okay? Based on our requirement, we can define exactly same private method in the child class also. No problem at all. We can define exactly same private method in the child class. But it is not overriding. Sir, it is the parent specific method. It is the child specific method. It is not overriding concept. It is valid. It is valid, but not overriding. It is valid, but not overriding. Clear for all of you at this point. Based on our requirement, we can define. Based on our requirement, we can define exactly same private method. Based on our requirement, we can define exactly same private method. Exactly same private method in child class. Exactly same private method in child class. In child class. It is valid. It is valid, but not overriding. It is valid, but not overriding. It is valid, but not overriding. Overriding. Okay, that's all. Take this example. Class P, private void M1. Class C extends P. Class P, private void M1. Class C extends P. Private void M1. It is valid, but not overriding. Valid, but not overriding. Completed, I hope. Based on our requirement, we can define exactly same private method. Okay, it is valid but not overriding. At that comment also. Next term, so do you know this is about private methods we can't override. If you want, you can define the same method, but it's not overriding concept, right? Sir, here I have one public method is there, public void M1. Analyze on this one, public void M1. Class C extends P. Class C extends P. Okay, like here I am taking public void M1. Is it a valid overriding or not? Valid. Public void M1, public void M1. Suppose parent decided, suppose best example, your parent arranged some marriage, but you are not satisfied with that, you want to override. But the parent aware that what the parent did is nothing but my decision is final. No one is allowed to change my decision. It is nothing but like parent decided, parent declared the method as final. If the parent class method is the final, then you can't override that method in the child class. Are you getting that? If the parent class method is the final, we can't override, boss, because this implementation final. No one is allowed to redefine that method. No one is allowed to override that method, isn't it? So final methods we can't override. Overriding concept not applicable for final methods because it's already declared the final. Boss, this implementation is a final. Everyone should use this implementation only. You are not allowed to redefine this method. You are not allowed to change this implementation. Is nothing but have you observed the word final? Final means this implementation is final. No one is allowed to change. So if a parent class method is the final, then we can't override that method. So by mistake I am trying to override like this. What will happen is immediately compile time error you are going to get. Can you spell out what is that error? M1 in C cannot override. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Sir, M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. What is the reason? Overridden method. Overridden method. Can you tell which one is the overridden method? Parent class method or child class method? Parent method. Child class method is called overriding method. Overridden method is final. Overriding method is final. Like compile time error we will get. Are you getting? What error we will get? That one is also very important point, right? Okay. So you can't override. Okay, final methods in the child classes. By mistake, if you are trying to override, compile time error we will get. Just let me show this one. Sir, here observe public void M1. Public void M1 legend class C. Here also public void M1 return is nothing but like I am taking. So public void M1 like now. So it is the valid. No, 1 minute. It is the valid, no problem at all. Okay. Now I am taking public final void M1. Public final void M1 is nothing but, can you tell is it a valid or invalid? Invalid. Compile time error by default we are going to get. Have you observed? M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Okay, this is overridden method is final. Overridden method is final. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Overridden method is final. Like a compile time error we are going to get. Okay, at this point. Yeah, at the theory first. We can't override parent class final methods. We can't override parent class final methods in child classes. We can't override parent class final methods in child classes. Parent class final methods in child classes. In child classes. If we are trying to override, we will get compile time error. If we are trying to override, we will get compile time error. We will get compile time error. Okay, take this point well. Class P public final void M1. Class P public final void M1. Public final void M1. Next, class C extends P. Class C extends P. Public void M1. Class C extends P. Public void M1. At the points well. At that compile time error. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Overridden method is final. Overridden method is final. Overridden method is final. Completed, I hope. Okay. So final method we can't override in the child class, right? Okay. Next, here just observe these conclusions, right? Okay, these points are a bit important. Okay, these are things here legend. Sir, I have parent class method is the abstract. Observe this one. Parent class method is abstract method. Can you tell Is it possible to override abstract method in the child class? Ayyo, abstract method, is it possible to override? Compulsory we should override, because where we have to provide implementation for abstract methods? In child class only. Parent class abstract methods we should override in the child classes to provide implementation, right? Sorry, if you are not going to provide implementation, then meaningless to declare abstract method in the parent. Parent class abstract methods we should override in the child class to provide implementation, right? That's why parent class abstract methods. Sir, I have one abstract class is there. Abstract class P. So here I have one abstract method. Public abstract void M1. Like I have public abstract void M1. Now I am taking class C extends P. Sir, parent class abstract method compulsory we should override in the child class to provide implementation, right? So public void M1 curly brace open and close. Are you getting valid or not? Yes, abstract method we can override as a non-abstract to provide implementation, right? Okay, at this point. Parent class abstract methods, we should override. Parent class abstract methods we should override. Parent class abstract methods we should override in child class, to provide implementation. Parent class abstract methods we should override in child class to provide implementation. Okay, now we add abstract class P, public abstract void M1. Abstract class P, public abstract void M1. Abstract class P, public abstract void M1. Next class C extends P, public void M1. Is it valid or not? Valid, no problem at all. Okay, now the next here this point is a bit more clarity must be required. Take very special care. Sir, I have one method class P. Okay, observe carefully, class P. Here public void M1 method is there. Sir, class P, public void M1 method is there. Now class C extends P. Class C extends P. Now observe this one. Do you know? Sometimes in our house, kids are there, small kids. So we can full time pass and full enjoy with the kids. Usually, do you know? If the kid is there, small kid is there, then so happiest is nothing but house is that. Okay, we can enjoy like anything. But if the kid starts crying, then it is horrible to manage. Are you getting? If as long as kid is happily playing, then no problem, we can enjoy like anything. But once a kid starts crying, then it's horrible, because he or she, so the baby don't know is nothing but she can't tell what he want, what she want. Are you getting? So she's unable to talk. That is, she don't know how to talk. Okay, so she starts crying. Then we have to understand why she is crying. Like we have to bear, we have to analyze, and we have to do. Most of the times, kid is going to cry only two cases. One is feeling hungry, or otherwise feeling sleep. Is nothing but only two cases. So kid starts crying. Then what I did is, maybe feeling hungry, like something I gave to eat. Then automatically she throw like anything. Oh, clear indication she don't want anything to eat. Then I thought, I gave a small toy, like a small toy. Can you please play like I gave? Then automatically she throw, then broken into pieces. Okay, she wants something. Correct, right? Kid wants something, but she don't know what she want. Are you getting? Kid behavior is I want something, but I don't know what I want. Are you getting? I don't know what I want. Kid behavior is like, okay, that is called kiddish behavior. Same, I don't want parent method implementation. Array, no problem. Happily you can override. Happily you can override in the child. But I don't know how to provide implementation. Are you getting? I don't want parent implementation, but I don't know how to provide implementation. Is nothing but two words. I don't want parent implementation, but I don't know how to provide implementation. Then how you can handle? No problem. You don't want parent implementation. Okay, you can override. But you don't know how to provide implementation. Just declare abstract method, public abstract, void m1. If the class contain at least one abstract method, declare the class as abstracted. So, parent class non-abstract method, is it possible to override as abstract method or not? In the last example, abstract to non-abstract we saw. But now reverse I'm checking. Parent class method is not abstract, but child class method is abstract. Is it possible or not? Yes, 100% pakka, this one is nothing but valid code. Are you getting? We can override non-abstract methods as abstract, no problem at all. Let me cross check, let me show this one. 1 minute, here see. Sir, here I have one method is there. Here same example, here see. Sir, parent class method is not abstract. Have you observed class P, public void M1. But abstract class C extends P, public abstract void M1. Is nothing but like public abstract void M1. Both options are there. Now, Java C, P dot Java. Perfectly valid, there is no problem at all. Are you able to understand? Okay, this is parent class non-abstract method. Happily we can override as abstract itself is valid. Then immediately you may ask, sir, what is the advantage? Simple. If this abstract is not there, then this method is available here or not? Available. Even this method is available to the next level childs also. Okay, this is. But if I am taking abstract method, who is the responsible to provide implementation? Next child. So here I am taking class sub C extends C. Compulsory he should provide implementation for this abstract method or not? Yes. Okay. So he is not allowed to use parent method implementation. Compulsory is he should redefine this method, right? So what is the advantage of overriding non-abstract method as abstract is we can stop availability of parent method implementation to the next level child classes. Next level child compulsory should redefine this method based on its requirement. Is it clear, right? Okay, add. We can override non-abstract method. We can override non-abstract method as abstract. We can override non-abstract method as abstract. Non-abstract method as abstract. Non-abstract method as abstract. Okay, take this one. Class P, public void M1. Class P, public void M1. Abstract class C extends P. Abstract class C extends P. Next, public abstract void M1. Abstract class C extends P. Public abstract void M1. Public abstract void M1. Completed, right? Public abstract void M1. Okay, like now at the main advantage of this approach is we can stop the availability of parent method implementation. We can stop the availability of parent method implementation in the next level child classes, to the next level child classes. we can stop the availability of parent method implementation to the next level child classes. Next level child classes. That's all. Are you able to understand that? Okay. So make sure you should have clarity about these things, right? Next, take very special care, okay, about these summary points, right? Sir, here assume that parent method, child method, like I'm taking. Assume parent method, and this one is a child method. Sometimes maybe reverse also I will do, parent and child. Now observe. Sir, if the parent class method is final, parent class method is final, can you tell, can I override parent class method in the child class as a non-final? Possible or not possible? Either non-final or final. Possible or not possible? Not possible. You can't override. We can't override final to non-final or final. Final methods we can't override. But now, if the parent class method is non-final, have you observed non-final? But I want to override this method as final. Possible or not? Non-final to final. Possible or not? 100% pakka. Possible, no problem. Are you getting? Non-final to final. Acceptable, no problem at all. But if it is the final, next level child. In the next level child, we can't override. That's nothing but up to this level acceptable. Next level child, we can't override, right? Same. Sir, parent class method is abstract. Parent class method is abstract. Abstract to non-abstract. Acceptable or not? Yes. Non-abstract to abstract. Acceptable or not? Yes, no problem at all. Abstract to non-abstract, non-abstract to abstract, both are acceptable. Itself is the valid. Next, listen carefully about the remaining parts also. Sir, parent class method is synchronized method. Parent class method is synchronized to non-synchronized. Okay, make sure this point you should aware. Synchronized to non-synchronized, non-synchronized to synchronized, no problem, acceptable. Synchronized keyword won't keep any restriction in overriding. Parent is non-synchronized, child is synchronized, or parent is synchronized, child is not synchronized, no problem, acceptable. That's why synchronized to non-synchronized, non-synchronized to synchronized, acceptable, because this keyword won't play any restriction in overriding, right? Similarly, synchronized, similarly native also. Parent class method is the native. Native to non-native. Native to non-native. Is it acceptable or not? Yes. Native method is the method which is implemented in other languages like C. I don't want that bloody C language implementation. I want to implement that method in Java only. Best example, hash code method. Hash code. Parent object class hash code method is native. But in the child class, is it possible to override or not? Yes. Native to non-native. Non-native to native, acceptable, no problem at all. Similarly, parent class method is strict FOP. Listen this one, strict FOP. Child class method is non-strict FOP. Okay, non-strict FOP. Strict FOP to non-strict FOP. Non-strict FOP to strict FOP, no problem at all, acceptable. So, in overriding, synchronizer keyword, native keyword, strict FOP keywords won't keep any restrictions, right? Are you getting? Okay, this at the theory first. In overriding, the following modifiers. In overriding, the following modifiers won't keep any restriction. The following modifiers won't keep any restriction. The following modifiers won't keep any restriction. Any restriction like, okay, take first list. Won't keep any restriction. First one synchronized. Second one, first one synchronized. Second one native. First one synchronized. Second native. Third one strict FOP. Synchronized, native, strict FOP. Okay, like, so make sure. So take this part. take the summary. Take clearly. Parent method, child method, like final to non-final or final, non-final to final, abstract to non-abstract, non-abstract to abstract, synchronized to non-synchronized, non-synchronized to synchronized, like take all these things. Okay, completed, I hope. Strict FOP to non-strict FOP, like parent class method, child class method, like. Now the terminology is very, very clear for you people. Okay, now keep submitting. I mean, next rule. So one modifier is missing from this list. Which modifier? Final we covered, abstract we covered, synchronizer we covered, native strict FOP. At method level, one more modifier is missing. Static modifier. Do you know? Static modifier, there is a big role, or there is a big. There are several rules are there related to static. As a separate heading, I will discuss. Anyway, that one. So the next point, make sure, very, very important conclusion we have to talk. Here the next rule, assume the parent class method is, here see, class C, class P, parent class method is public void M1. Sir, parent class method is public classes P, public void M1. In the child class, I am trying to override class C extends P, class C extends P. Now I am taking void M2 method. I am taking void M2 method. Can you tell, is it valid or not? Is it valid or not? Parent class method is public void M1. Child class method is, void M1 only, because overriding right. Void M1, like this I am taking. Valid or not? Valid or invalid? 100% pakka. If I am trying to compile this code, compiler will give left and right. Compile time error we are going to get. What is the reason for that? Okay, what is the rule for that? Here, parent class method is what? Public. Child class method is what? Default. While overriding the scope of access modifier, we can't reduce. Are getting? We can't reduce. If you want, you can increase the scope. Do you know? Exact compile time error. M1 in C cannot override. Sir, cannot override M1 in P. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Attempting to assign weaker access privileges. Attempting to assign weaker access privileges, semicolon, was a public. was a public. Either comparative method we are going to get. Have you observed? You are attempting to assign Waker access privileges, attempting to assign Waker access privileges was a public. Parent class method was public. How you can do is nothing but, let me show first this one. You are saying, observe this point well. Sir, class P public void M1, class C extends P. Now I am taking void M1, okay, curly brace open and close. Void M1, curly brace open and close. Sir, can you tell, observe this comparative method? Observe this one. M1 in C, can you please read Anna? M1 in C cannot override M1 in P, semicolon. What is the next one? Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was a public. Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was public. That's fine. So while overriding, we can't reduce the scope of access modifier. If you want, you can increase the scope, no problem at all. Increasing is allowed, but decreasing is not allowed. Now observe, suppose parent class method is also public. Anna, valid or not? Valid or not? Public, no problem, acceptable. Okay, valid. Suppose parent class method is a default. Parent class method is the default, but child class method is public. Valid or not? If you want, you can increase, but decreasing the scope is nothing but not allowed. Have you observed this one? Yes, is nothing but valid. Valid, because increase is allowed. Sir, parent class method is protected. Child class method is public. Valid or not? Valid. Increasing, protected to public is nothing but increasing the scope. Valid. Sir, parent class method is protected, but parent class method is the default, but child class method is protected. Valid or not? Default means what? Within the package. Protected means within the package plus outside package in the child. More accessibility is the protected. Is it valid or not? Increasing the scope. Yes, no problem at all. Are you getting? The rule is that clear for you. Okay, at this point. Yeah. While overriding, we can't reduce. We can't reduce scope of access modifier. While overriding, we can't reduce scope of access modifier. We can't reduce the scope of access modifier. We can't reduce the scope of access modifier, but we can increase the scope. But we can increase the scope. But we can increase the scope. Scope. Okay, take this example. Class P public void M1. Class C extends P. Class C extends P. Void M1. Add that comparative method clearly. M1 in C cannot override. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was a public. Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was a public. Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was public. Was public. Completed, I hope. M1 in C cannot override M1 in P. Attempting to assign Waker access privileges was public. Next. This is one thing what you people should aware. Okay, here, sir, which is the most restricted access modifier? Have you remembered? Somewhere we covered. Okay, which is the most restricted modifier? Sir, private is the most restricted modifier. When compared with the private, default is the next accessible modifier. When compared with the default, next accessible modifier is protected, and the most accessible modifier is what? Public. And now legend this one. So which is having lesser scope, which is having high scope, is that clear? Now let me take summary. Sir, here observe, if the parent class method and the child class method, take special care. If the parent class method is public, compulsory child class method should be public only, no alternative at all. Okay. If the parent class method is protected, can you tell child class method should be either protected or public? If you want, you can take same, or if you want, you can increase. That's why either protected or public. If the parent class method is default, what about child class method? Either default or protected or public. Next, if the parent class method is private, what about child class method? Don't use the word. Overriding concept not applicable for private methods. Okay. Overriding concept not applicable. For private methods. Okay. Like this one. Take this total thing. Take clearly. First you have to take this one and then this part. The rules for overriding. Make sure. Overriding concept not applicable for private methods anyway. That point you should aware. The parent class method is the public. Here public is allowed. Here it is the protected. Then these things are allowed. Completed, right? Okay, that's all.